it's me, Mrs. Huck, and Theo. Theo, say hi. He's going to listen into our story today. We're so glad that you came back to read with us today because like we promised today, we're going to jump into a book all about polar bears. This story is called Ice Bear in the Steps of the Polar Bear. And Mavs, I know this is a story that a few of you may have read before. Maybe you're thinking or going like this at your home. But luckily, we know as readers that it's good to read a story more than one time because we can learn something new. So as I read this story to you today, here's what I want you to be thinking. Is this story a fiction story? Does that mean that it's not true, it's made up? Or is this a nonfiction book, a true story? And as you're thinking, I want you to be thinking or be looking for, not thinking, but looking for some evidence to prove that it is fiction or nonfiction. Okay, here we go. It's called Ice Bear in the Steps of the Polar Bear. Now, this is a very big book, so I'm going to do my best because there are beautiful pictures. In fact, I forgot to tell you that it's written by Nicola Davies, and it's illustrated by Gary Blythe, which gives me a clue into saying that Gary Blythe actually drew these pictures. They're beautiful. Okay. Our people, the Inuit, call it Nanook, white bear, ice bear, sea bear, others say. It's a bear, all right, but not like any other. It's a polar bear made for our frozen world. So, Mavs, I want you to be thinking, who is narrating or saying this story? And sometimes when I'm thinking about that question, it helps me to jump back into the text. So I'm going to go ahead and read this first sentence. Listen again. It says, our people, the Inuit, call it Nanook. So I'm thinking as a reader, when it says our people, the Inuit, I'm thinking one of the Inuit people are actually telling the story. Wow, I even see them in the distance over here in the picture. Now it's hard to see on here, but there's actually a hidden caption down here. It's a little wavy like this. It's written very small, but let's read it to see what it says. Polar bears have longer necks and legs than their closest relatives, brown or grizzly bears. Wow, it's giving us more information or facts about the polar bear. Hey, maybe that's a clue. Fiction or nonfiction? Okay. No frost can steal polar bear's heat. It has a double coat, one of fat 4 fingers deep and one of fur, which has an extra trick for beating cold. Wow, hold up those 4 fingers. Can you imagine 4 fingers deep of fat? Its hairs aren't really white but hollow, filled with air to stop the warmth escaping, and underneath the skin is black to soak up heat. Mavs, I know that many of you are probably thinking the same thing I am. Wow, this polar bear has a lot of adaptations to survive in such a cold habitat. Only a polar bear's nose and the pads of the ends of its toes are without fur. Its ears sit close to its head, neatly out of cutting winds, and its feet are furred for warmth and grip, so polar bear stays warm no matter what. It will sleep away a blizzard in a drift and wash in snow. Tiny ice crystals rub the dirt from the polar bear's fur. Polar bears are careful to keep clean so that they stay camouflaged against the snow and ice. Polar bears stay warm in temperatures of minus 40 degrees and lower. Polar bear is a great hunter. It outweighs 2 lions and makes a tiger look small. A single paw would fill this page and shred the paper with its claws. Polar bears are the biggest hunters on land. Male bears can be 10 feet long and weigh as much as 10 men. It can run as fast as a snowmobile or walk for days on end. It can swim 100 miles without a rest to cross the sea between the ice floes, then shake the water from its fur and walk again. Wow, Mavs, I knew that polar bears could run and walk and swim, but this is new learning for me that they can swim 100 miles without rest. Nothing stops polar bear. Polar bears' fat keeps them warm in the cold sea. Webbed feet help them to swim, and water-shedding fur helps them to dry off quickly. Seals are its prey. It hunts them far out on the frozen sea, waiting at a breathing hole or stalking them as they sleep. Polar bear is a white shape in a white world, invisible until it's too late. A lightning paw strike, a crushing bite, and the seal is gone. Oh, look at this page. But polar bear is gentle too. Mother polar bear in her winter snow den tends her newborn cubs. She lifts their tiny bodies in her great paws and suckles them. Newborn polar bears are tiny. They weigh just over 1 pound, about the same as a guinea pig. Oh man, you could hold them in your hands. In spring, she'll take them hunting, and for 2 years she'll protect and feed them until they've learned, like her, to hunt alone. Polar bear moms usually have 2 cubs at a time, but sometimes they have only 1 or very rarely triplets. Alone through summers when the sun tracks up and down the sky and one day passes to another with no night between. Alone through winters when the sun never rises and the stars of the Great Bear sparkle in the darkness. When the sea ice melts in summer, polar bears can't catch seals. They'll eat almost anything instead. Fish, dead birds, berries, and even grass. In the Arctic, it's light all the time in summer and dark all the time in winter. Alone, until the paths of 2 lone hunters cross. They'll wave their heads in greeting, clasp jaws so tenderly they wouldn't break an egg. Cautiously, they'll try each other's strength. Then, play. Giants flowing in the whiteness, tumbling beautiful as snowflakes. Real fighting is very dangerous for polar bears. So males play fight to find out who's the strongest without either bear getting hurt. Now, Mavs, here's what I want you to do. Take a look at this text. Notice how the author put these 3 dots. That's what we call an ellipse. That means the author is continuing the thought on the next page. And I want to reread to show you what it would sound like. Giants flowing in the whiteness, tumbling, beautiful as snowflakes, until they part and slowly go their separate ways. We Inuit, we watch Nanook, as we first watched when the earth seemed new, and polar bear showed us how to love the Arctic, how to hide from blizzards in a house of snow, how to hunt for seals with patience and with speed, how to live in starlit day and sunlit night. Many polar bears and Inuit have passed since then, and still we share our world with gratitude and pride. Some scientists think that when humans came to the Arctic around 40,000 years ago, they learned how to survive by watching polar bears. Oh, Mavs, look at this is the back cover of this book, or you can see it just has one extra little page about the author. But here's where I find something. I see that there is an index. And if I remember, index is where I can look up pages to find out about certain things. So if I wanted to read about cubs, I can go over here and see I'd look at pages 19 through 21. Now look at this index. What page would I look on if I wanted to look about pause? Can you see? Where does it say pause? I notice it's in alphabetical order, so here I go down to find the P's. Oh, here's pause. Mavs, if you said 13, you were right on. Awesome job. Okay, now remember my challenge for you as we read this story. What do you think? Was your prediction right? Did you predict this was a fiction or non-fiction book? Okay, on the count of 3, I want you to whisper shout what it is. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Non-fiction. If you shouted non-fiction with me, you were correct. And this one was a little bit trickier because a lot of times non-fiction books have photographs. But like we saw at the beginning, this is illustrated by Gary Blythe. Here's what I noticed about the illustrations though. The illustrations were really lifelike. They didn't have polar bears in clothes or silly colors. They were really true to what polar bears look like, which is one clue that it's a non-fiction book. What's another clue that this was a non-fiction book? Yes, I heard one of you say it, that this book is full of facts. In fact, not only are there facts in the big words, there are even more detailed facts in these little words. For example, this says, in the Arctic, it's light all the time in summer and dark all the time in winter. Does anybody else have any other evidence that proves this is a non-fiction book? Hey, you're right. This book has many nonfiction features, including that index we saw at the end. Now, even though this book doesn't have a table of contents like many nonfiction books do, the index is a good clue that this is a nonfiction book. So here's my challenge for you today, readers. As you read books independently or with your families, I wonder if you could choose a nonfiction book. And I wonder if you could notice some of the nonfiction features that it may have. Does yours have an index? Does yours have drawings or photographs? Does yours tell facts? If so, what are they about? I can't wait to find out about what they are. Maybe one of you will share one of your facts tomorrow. Bye. See you tomorrow.